Hi, and welcome to the Bookish Stitcher podcast. My name is Jeanette. You can find me on Ravelry, Instagram, and Goodreads as Bookish Stitcher, all one word. I go. That should be like an outtake, but I don't have time to do outtakes right now, so that's just like. Okay, I hope you guys have all had a wonderful couple of weeks since I last recorded. Can you tell it's late? So I was like determined that I was gonna have this certain thing as the FO this time. And as the weeks have progressed and things have been going on, it became less and less likely that this was going to happen. I was like, it's happening, it's happening. And so I like put myself in this little area. I was like knitting furiously on my almost FO, and then I was like, this is not gonna happen today. It's basically there, like another 30 minutes and it completely would be, but which doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it's already nighttime. I've already put my daughter to bed, and since after I record this, it takes a few hours to like process it and get it in a format for iTunes and a format for YouTube, and then get it all downloaded and write the stuff down. Then so I won't be up till after midnight to get this. I guess it'll technically be up Monday, but I was like, you gotta stop yourself. It's not gonna happen, because it has been a really busy couple of weeks since I last podcasted. I posted on Instagram, we got a new kitten, and he's about this big, and he's just upstairs now because he would be like jumping. He'd be climbing my skirt. I'd have like a little kitten up here. It was so funny when we picked him out from one of my friends who lives like out of town. We live in San Antonio, and one of my friends who lives out of town has some property, some land, and she had, I guess, rescued a pregnant mother cat from like a dumpster or someplace. I don't know the whole story. But the mother cat had her kittens, and we were there, and she was like, take home a kitten. And my kids were like, Mommy, please. And my mother would have never let me, like, I could have begged and pleaded and like offered anything, and she would be like, nope, but I don't have that ability. When my kids are like, please, I'm like, okay. And so we got a kitten, and we picked the calmest one in the bunch. And as soon as we got him home, he like became like warrior kitten, and he's crazy. And so I have been like just having to monitor him because he keeps attacking our other pets, and I'm like, okay. And so it's been lots of kitten babysitting, and then just a whole bunch of like Halloween parties and different festivals and things like that. And then my mom had to go in for surgery, which is not good, but she's doing okay, so that's good. I'm gonna drink some water. I got my October Owl Crate. It's like a subscription book thing, fun thing. And it came with this mug, which I was so happy about, but it's a Harry Potter mug, and it has like scenes from the first 3 books. So there's the unicorn from the first book where Voldemort is feeding off unicorn blood to stay alive. And then the second book, which I'm currently rereading, with giant spiders and the enchanted car. And then the third book with Buckbeak. So you either know that or you haven't read the Harry Potter books and it's meaningless to you. But I was so happy that this mug was in the box. That was like my favorite of the boxes ever. Anyways, let's get into the knitting, because I like gave you this whole story about my FO, and then I haven't shown it to you yet. So this is the first one. It has been accidentally washed and blocked because the new said kitten, whose name is Sebastian, I was knitting on the other sock, and I had this one laid out next to kind of compare, and I had a very nice tall glass of water next to me, and Sebastian came along and like lunged his whole body into my water, and the water went bloop on top of this sock, and I was like, well, now we're gonna wash and block it. And so yeah, I washed it, and then I put it on the sock blocker. It still hasn't had its ends sewn in, but it's nicely softened up, and some of the crinkle from the sock blank has come out. So here's the second one, and like I said, it's done. It's like 30 minutes. The ribbing is, I have like 4 or 5 more rows of ribbing and bind off, so you can see what it will look like. The main difference I can tell between the 2 socks, they're very similar. The purple toe, then brown, then the heels are basically the same, but in this part of This one, there were leaves that were printed up into the blue, and this one, there were not leaves printed past this yellow. So you can see the speckles die out on this second sock. But honestly, yeah, I was so close. I was 4 or 5 rows from being done. But yeah, I have to be reasonable because I was getting my daughter ready for bed, and we were like playing, should we get her dressed for bedtime? We're like tickling and like having like a little like wrestling, and she had made my hair insane. And I forgot to tell you guys last time I podcasted that I dyed my hair darker. Some people had written me asking if I had, but yeah, it's darker. I went in and I haven't had my hair dyed in a decade probably, or anything done professionally to it, just because I never spend money on myself. I'm that mom that like is always spending money on the kids. And so I was like, okay, my job is really kind of draining, and I often feel like I'm just an errand girl, which isn't the best feeling. And so I was like, I want to do something special for myself, something that'll make myself feel good. So I went to the hair place and said, I want a darker color for fall. And it was a little bit darker than I wanted it to be. So it's like this, but yes, I did dye it a little bit darker. So it's the first time it has not been blonde in my entire life. But my daughter and I were wrestling, and my hair was like, whoosh. And I said, Faye, I've got to go podcast. It's time for you to go to bed. And she said, you can't podcast. Your hair looks crazy. And I was like, it's gonna be fine. So I kind of like finger brushed it. I don't have on any makeup. This is like pre-bedtime, no makeup, crazy looking me. And that's what you get sometimes in life. So we're keeping it real today. I just like it when everything's not manufactured perfect. You know, sometimes it's nice to watch the perfect, but it's not always like that in real life. So next thing I have is my Garter Goodness shawl. And this is a Stephen West pattern. And last time you guys saw it, it was, where am I find it? My little pumpkin scone right there. And so it doesn't look like I've knit that much, and I've been just knitting 2 rows a day because there are over 400 stitches on the needles. I need a bigger needle to be able to show you, but this first color was a Lolo, did it in fairy ponds or fairy pools. And the second one that I've added in is some primrose yarn color in a color I got like 2 years ago. It was when she just started dyeing, like a couple months into her dyeing career. And I want to say it's like an English king or an English queen. Something from the Tudor period, I believe. I can't remember the exact, or maybe something from a book, but I'll remember it for next time, and I'll try to find the label and bring it. Like I said, stuff has been just crazy around here right now. I'm looking forward to November. I believe it will be a much calmer month because there's a lot less stuff going on. And so yeah, this is just 2 rows a day. I mean, it's growing slowly, but I'm fine with that. It's just, I don't want to like try to do too much on it because honestly, it gets more than 2 rows a day would get kind of tedious on this. And so the next thing, I don't even have project bags for these. This next one has a project bag, so I feel kind of, good about that. I need to utilize all these project bags I have, especially now that I have a kitten who I gotten spoiled by cats that, my big guy, he doesn't care about yarn. He just leaves it alone. And the poor guy, he feels very put upon that we have brought a kitten into the home and he cannot just lay around all day and relax, that he has to be, because Sebastian attacks him. He like jumps on him, bites him. He's always attacking him, and I just like, oh, this is not going to be good. I thought I was going to have to be saving the little kitten from the big one. No, it's the opposite way around. And I realized I'm in the middle of a row on this because I haven't worked on it in days, because this is my nighttime knitting. And I have been so tired in how things are going right now that I've been going to bed at 8:30 or 9 almost every night. And this is my 3-color cashmere shawl that I talked about last week that I'm really enjoying, or last time, that I'm really enjoying. It's out of some Bling Your String and Pink Bliss. Not Bling Your String, that's my friend. That's company. It is out of some Stunning String Studios. I always say Bling Your String, I don't know why. Stunning String Studios in the Pink Bliss and the Sand Dune color. And I can't believe I left it in the middle of a row. If you can hear that noise upstairs, that's my son getting ready for bed because it is nighttime around here. So last time I showed this to you, I had been doing these lace eyelet sections, and now I am into the stripes. So I don't know how much you can see, but you just stripe the pink and the brown together, and then the next thing will be a really pretty cool like section of the third color, which you haven't seen yet, and I will show you that when that gets all finished. So there is my other project that hasn't gotten as much love as I would like, because it's perfect nighttime TV knitting, but because my husband and I have not been watching shows at night, we have just been falling asleep. Like, he's even so that like after dinner, like at 6, 7, well, he's never home by 6, but like 6:30 or 7, he will be sleeping on the couch. Like, we have been just exhausted recently. And so yeah, I don't know if I think it's almost time to where we're going to have the fall back, and I think that will help rejuvenate some of our energy, because it's just exhausted. We get up so early, like 5 a.m., sometimes 4, that you're getting up in the dark constantly and getting the kids ready in the dark. So when that fall back happens and it's light, most of the time we're driving to school in the dark. So when that changes, it will be so much nicer. The next thing I was having some fun with my stash, because we had a couple of cooler mornings here where it was in the 40s degrees Fahrenheit, which would roughly, normally I can do a Fahrenheit to Celsius conversion in my head, but right now my brain is so tired. I think it's in the teens in Celsius. I want to say it's in the teens. Could be wrong, but somewhere around there. And so I just went up to my stash and grabbed a random skein, and I kind of knew what this was because I can put my hand in and feel, because this is one of the top ease hats. And so there's this little ball of yarn that comes with a topper on top, and it's a little character that you put on after you finish the hat. Now, I started this 3 separate times, and on the third time was the charm. But I started it from the outside. It's in like a little, not quite a cake, but like a little shape. I don't know. It's almost like a scone, I guess. But I started from just the outside of that, and then I knit, and it was this tiny amount of ribbing with this blue. And I was like, that's not enough ribbing. That's 3 rows of ribbing, 3 or 4 rows of ribbing. It was that much. I was like, that's not enough. And so I ripped it out and I rewound the ball from the other side and tried to start it on the other side, and it was the same tiny amount. And I was like, and I went and I looked on Ravelry and I saw the pictures of it, and I said, how are they doing this? Because there were some people that had the thing where I had, where the blue was not enough, and so they had gone up into the next color for it, and then some people had an appropriate amount of ribbing done in all one color, and that's what I really wanted, but I could not achieve that with my skein. And so I realized it's this one right here that would have given me the appropriate amount, this big blue stripe. But the yarn, I don't know if it's just the way that it was cut at the factory. It was not cut to where that would be possible without me cutting the yarn multiple times to get that, to achieve that result. And I don't really want to do that, and I didn't think that was cool. So I went digging in my scrap bin and I picked this white, and I think it goes nicely, and I had a big enough ball to do a nice size brim. And then now I am done with the hat, and I'm on to, there are 2 colors left, the variegated and this blue. And so all I have to do now is the crown decreases. But I was kind of sad that I couldn't get it to look just like it was on the picture. The picture is these adorable kids. They're about my daughter's age, and they have the hats that are perfectly done, and with the blue in the ribbing and then it going up. But that was not possible at all with my skein. And honestly, I probably needed this white because this isn't enough to do, I mean, it's enough now to do the crown decreases, but this would not have been enough with ribbing and stuff. The hat would have been 2 inches shorter. And like a baby hat, sure, would be enough. Toddler hat, yes. Child size hat, like a 4 or 5 year old, definitely not with what was in the skein. So I don't know. I did there are 2 sizes, like a toddler baby hat and then a child hat, and I did the child. So it's like 70 something stitches on here. And yeah, I'm glad I had the white to use, but I'm kind of sad that I couldn't get it to look exactly like the picture. This purple is so fuzzy though, but this probably is going to be for my daughter because she's claimed it when she saw what I was working on. And I didn't bring it to show you, but you'll see it next time when it's finished. It has a cute little owl topper, and I posted a picture on Instagram of that. So this was just fun to like close my eyes, reach into my stash, and pull out. So I knew that it was going to be one of the toppers, but I have this one, a Christmas one, and a kind of Nemo-esque clownfish one. So I didn't know which one it was going to be of those. And yeah, that's super quick. This made me remember how much I love doing hats because I just had a tiny bit and then zoom already to this point. And then the next thing is also grab a skein from my stash because I'm having so much fun with that, just closing my eyes, grabbing a skein, and then figuring out a project to do with it. It's kind of this like way to be spontaneous and break out of my planning self. And I've been making sure to grab ones that are in like the worsted section because I have what I fondly refer to as my yarn hive. It looks like a beehive and it's cut in these cool shapes from plywood, and then it's mounted onto my wall so it looks like an art piece of my yarn. And I have them separated by worsted weight, DK sport, fingering weight for shawls, fingering weight for socks, fingering weight self-striping. So it's all organized because I live for the organization. Some of my most, if I'm feeling anxious, knitting or organizing will make me feel better. And so this was my skein that I grabbed, and it's I love this cotton, and it's in this very autumnal feeling yarn that I've been wanting to make this pattern with for a while, and I just hadn't picked it up. So it's beautiful colors, and I am doing one of my favorite patterns. It's actually a free pattern on Ravelry, and I've made a ton of them. I believe it's called like the mitered hanging dish towel, or not mitered, but like the hanging dish towel. It's from a Canadian magazine. It's free on Ravelry. It's like hanging dish towel or something, and I haven't put a project page up for this one, but in my old projects I've knit several of these. I knit them as Mother's Day presents one year, and I include them with some really pretty soap that I got on Etsy, and they're great. I have ones for around the house because it's just a towel, and you start casting on the bottom and garter with, you know, to form a border kind of thing. And then you can all do it in one color or different colors. I'm doing different to use up some scraps because I have this little bit of cotton scrap. And then you just do decreases, like a slip in the middle. You do a slip knit and then move the marker and then a knit 2 together. It's a free pattern, so I'm not giving anything away. But then you work your way up, keep decreasing till it gets really small, and then you again go to garter stitch. And I like to hold the yarn doubled to create a really sturdy hanging part, and you just create this band, this hanging band, and a buttonhole, and then it loops over. It's perfect for my oven. It loops over there, and it picked, you know, just a cute little autumnal button, maybe a pumpkin or an acorn or a tree or like leaves or something, and then it will just hang over my oven and be really cute and festive and very practical. We love having these because the tiny kitten cannot pull it off if it's attached to the oven, and neither can my kids pull off, because the towels that aren't attached, often they will get taken off the oven and then like not hung back up properly, and they will just fall on the floor, and then it's kind of a waste. So this is perfect. It stays where you put it, and it's I believe like the hanging towel. It's on a Canadian magazine, like Canadian Living or something, but it's a free pattern. You just have to go from Ravelry to the link. And so that's all my knitting. I did do some spinning because I took off that thing off my wheel that was really frustrating me. I just ripped it off. I was like, this is keeping you from spinning. You love spinning. You find it very meditative. So let's take this off. And I put some other on and I started plying because I had a couple things from Tour de Fleece that still needed to be plied. So I started that, and next time I will have some finished plying so I can show you. And I'm really excited because I've only done a little bit of the plying, but it's really beautiful and I think it's going to turn out really nicely. It's some Three Waters Farms in these very kind of nature colors of browns and greens and blues and creams, and it's going to be really pretty. So spinning future really soon. And then let's see, so enabling, I don't have any yarn that I have to show you. I'm not quite working, but there was the yarn crawl here in Texas, in South Hill Country yarn crawl, and my yarn was being showcased at Fly Yarn, and I talked about it on the podcast before, but I went up there and I, not really vended, I guess, but like was up there with the yarn for some time, and I met another person who dyes yarn, but they're also an artist to where they make cards and stuff of the like watercolors of knit stitches, and I picked up some cards for friends. I think it's called The Knitting Artist, and she was very sweet and I got to talk with her for a while. And then I didn't get any yarn from there. I just got cards for friends, and yeah, it was fun going up there, and it's very nice to like be able to like dye up a whole bunch of yarn, drop it off at a yarn store, and have them kind of sell it for you. So that was lovely. So thank you to Ply for hosting me. And on that note, some of the, it would have been lovely, and I would have been ecstatic if every single skein that I had sent up there had sold out, but it hasn't. So some of it will be coming back, the parts that didn't sell. So there will be, all that to say, there will be some Open Skies yarn in my Etsy shop soon. I have to drive all the way to where the store is in Wimberley to pick it up. And last time I drove up there to showcase the yarn, my car decided that even though I just spent tons of money on it getting it fixed, that it wasn't quite fixed. So it broke down again and would not start, and we had to like jump it. And oh my gosh, thank you so much, El Dragon, for helping with that. There was a very kind knitter in the shop who I think I'd met her a couple times in San Antonio from the yarn shop in Skein in San Antonio, and she helped jump my car, and that was just so wonderful because I was over an hour from home and there's no Uber driver that's going to pick me up, and I didn't have any, I had the car seats. My husband couldn't come get me because he wouldn't have place to put our, I was pretty terrified there for a while last weekend, but all is good now. And yeah, so I can use my money that I made from the yarn crawl to get my car fixed again, so that will be lovely. And then as far as enabling non-yarn goes, I received a lovely package, and it's just so sweet. She sent me, she's actually in the US right now, and it's A Life of Her Own is, I believe, her name on Ravelry and Instagram and Goodreads. I'm not sure on that. But she sent me a Bookish Parcel, and I'm so excited. It came with all kinds of extra little goodies, some Russian tea, some matrushkas, some button or badge, card. I'm looking over there. I didn't bring every little thing, but there were so many things, some candies for my kids. So thank you so much. And she was in New Orleans, I believe, and she's in Austin, Texas area, so we might get to meet up if everything works out. But she sent me some books, and I loved the way she did this. So she saw that, and they were wrapped so beautifully. I loved the wrapping, the tissue paper that she used. So she saw that this had been on my want to read list, and it's The Atomic Weight of Love. And I don't really know anything about this, but it was on a list of like best books of something, and I always like to do those after the year's over, go back and see, because there's not time to read every book that comes out in a year. So it's nice for me when somebody else curates a list of books that I trust in their opinions, and then I can kind of read over the books or look at the covers and then pick one. So This is one that I've been wanting to read. And then these are arcs. I don't know if we get to meet her, I'll have to write her and find out how she gets arcs, because that's just a wonderful thing to me. I have decided I'm going to go to the School of Librarians to become a librarian and master of books. And I'm going to be coming pretty soon back to school, using my money from being an errand girl slave person who was constantly running around to further my education and get my master's and go do something that I'm really passionate about. Basically, that whole speech was, sometimes my current job does feel very much just like, yeah. And then A Piece of the World. So this is beautiful, and another arc that she had, and I am so excited to read both of these. So it's wonderful. And then this one she sent with this little note, and I love this idea. It says, "My favorite book of the year so far. I hope you enjoy it. I'm not sure it's out in the US yet." And this cover is stunning. It's like this gold embossed leaf. I don't know how well it's going to pick up because it's dark outside. There's no natural light coming in. I don't have fancy lighting. I know a lot of podcasters use like the ring lights and stuff. We are working by kitchen lights, the wonderful kitchen and living room lights, and that's what we have. But it's, trust me, so pretty. And so it takes place in rural Ireland. I haven't heard of this. It's called The Good People by Hannah Kent, and I love the idea of having a book that is not out in the States. I've seen some people that have like copies of their favorite books from like different countries. Like, it would be amazing to get some of the copies of some of my favorite books in Russian or, you know, French, or all these different languages that I am obsessed with. And so it takes place in Ireland in 1825. 3 women gather to save a child, and yeah, it looks really good. And it's just so beautiful. So thank you so much for this wonderful package. And this is so awesome. I love the idea of giving your favorite book of the year, and I'm definitely going to use that. And hopefully she and I will be able to meet up, and I'm going to have to go over my Goodreads and figure out which was my favorite book of the year, and maybe see if I can get a copy of that to give to her, because I think it's just brilliant. It's just a brilliant and wonderful way, I think, to learn more about a person as well. And so that is all the enabling. And then for group news, I don't know if we have any. I don't think we have any knit-alongs going on right now. To my knowledge, isn't that sad? That's so sad. I don't even know if I have any. October is a crazy month. It's crazy. So yeah, I don't think we have any knit-alongs going on now. There will be in November and December the Sparkle Cow, which is knitting with your sparkly yarns. But other than that, I don't think there's anything going on right now, and that's kind of the way I need it to be. I need to get through 2017. This year has been not the best one on record so far. But there's always a couple months left for it to turn around and decide to be awesome. Come on, 2017. So I'm a little bit hyper because I'm so tired. Do any of you have that, where you're so tired that your body is like throwing out the last little bit of energy, and then you'll be done? So that's where we're at. If I seem excited, it's because I'm throwing out that last little bit of energy before I'm sleeping, but I can't sleep because I have to get this all uploaded. So I brought several books down to kind of talk about, but not really. So there are 2 that I'm currently reading that I've not finished, so I can't exactly recommend them, but they're going so well so far. And you might not have heard of them. One you probably have, but so I wanted to mention them because I think it's fun to learn about books that you might not have heard of. And so many people messaged me that they got a lot of the books that I talked about last time. So that's awesome that you guys got those and really like them. I think that's like the best feeling when people write to me and say, "Hey, I read this book that you recommended and I liked it. So thank you, and please tell me when you do," because I love chatting books with people. I'm always like, "Oh, what did you think of it? No, what did you think of the narrator?" And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So this book that I'm currently reading You probably heard, since it's a national bestseller, you probably have heard of it. But The Winter People by Jennifer McCann, and it is so good so far, and it's a really fast read. Sometimes I find really fast reads are ones where the writing is not great and you can just breeze through it because the writing is so simplistic. The writing in this is beautiful. It's well done so far. The story is good so far. I'm only like a third of the way in. And it really has been wonderful because we've had cold mornings here, but it still like warms up. So I've loved reading this to kind of get myself in that chilly autumn mood when the weather outside isn't necessarily being chilly all day. So it's great. And then the next one, I don't think you probably will have heard of this. It was just a random. My husband and I were in a bookstore for our anniversary back in June, I think, and I was just like, I want to get a creepy book for Halloween time. I'm always planning ahead. And I just walked up to the horror section and I was walking through and I just saw the cover of this and I was like, oh, that's creepy. Because as I talked about last time, my fear of very old antique dolls, because my mother had one that had the lazy eye and the hair and the dress, and oh. So this is the book that I'm reading. Kind of reminds me of my mother's antique. It's very creepy so far. So The House of Small Shadows, and it's about a person that deals in antique doll collections and taxidermied animals, and yeah, so it's definitely, it says in the front, disorienting, I can't even read, I'm too tired. Disorienting and deeply creepy. So it is definitely that, and yeah, it's, again, the writing is really good. I am discovering with all this creepy books reading that I'm doing that the kind of writing that I really love is really rich writing. It just kind of speaks to me. So this writing is good. And then my actual book recommendation for this time is a book that I've been wanting to read for so long. It's so many of my really good friends' favorite book of all time. And my friend Love Pretty Yarn, who is just the sweetest, we were talking about this at the last retreat I went to, SSK, and she loves Daphne de Maurier and has read through her entire works multiple times, I believe, or maybe she's just read this certain book multiple times, but I know that she's read through all her work, and it makes me want to read more. And this book was so good. From the first line to the last line, the writing was superb. It was rich, it was decadent, it was atmospheric, it was just wrap yourself, like the writing felt like you were just enveloped, and that is a feeling I love. And it's not a fast book. You're not gonna like, I don't know, some people said they did sit down and read this in like an afternoon. It wasn't that type of book for me personally. It was like a couple weeks read, but if the writing's beautiful, I don't mind that at all. So what book am I? So Daphne de Maurier's Rebecca, and this is a special UK cover because I just fell in love with this, because sometimes on Goodreads I will go through and look at the different editions, and I knew I wanted to read this book, and I was looking at different covers and I fell in love with this cover of it. And there's this website called Book Depository where you can get some books from the UK, but you get free shipping, and I have only purchased from there once, but this was in my order because I really wanted this cover. How silly does that sound? But I genuinely love this cover, and I'm gonna be so happy to have this on my shelf. So it's just, none of the other covers spoke to me at all, and I knew this was a book that I was gonna love and I was gonna want to keep and just have, and I knew that having a cover that kind of spoke to me would be really important. So yeah, Rebecca is the story of a very young girl who her name is never told, which is kind of adds to this whole feeling that she's kind of this invisible one in this thing. And so she's a very young girl who is working as a companion for an older lady, and she's at Monte Carlo, and this very, I'm supposing handsome, he must be very handsome, distinguished gentleman who looks like he came straight out of like aristocratic England from the 1800s comes, and he is Maximum de Winter, and she is introduced to him by the elderly wealthy companion that she is with, and the companion tells him that Max's wife died tragically like a year ago. And so then the wealthy older woman gets the flu and is laid up in the hotel room, and during that time Max and Nameless start to go around and take drives, and Max just really kind of likes her because she's very young and everything is full of wonder for her. And right before the person she's a companion for is getting ready to leave to go to New York, Max proposes to her, even though they've only known each other for a short while. And the thing about Max, not only is he extremely wealthy, but he is the owner of this grand and amazingly beautiful and well-known estate called Manderley. And I just loved the first line of this. It was, you know, last night I dreamt I went to Manderley again. It's just one of those iconic opening lines of a book. And so she goes to Manderley, and the housekeeper that's there was really not in love with in like a love sense, but like cherished Rebecca, who was the former wife who had died tragically. And so because she thought so highly of Rebecca, she is constantly demeaning towards this other new wife, and kind of puts the fear of Rebecca into her by creating this atmosphere where it feels like Rebecca's just there. All Rebecca's things are there. She's always mentioning Rebecca, how things are done. And then this new young girl is not used to this upper elite lifestyle. She has no idea about talking to servants, you know, getting meal plans, orders, about planning parties. All this stuff feels very foreign to her. And because she lacks this kind of firmness or, you know, ability to lead, she's just kind of very shy, and she runs away whenever she's nervous to go hide in her room instead of meeting like family members and people that she should meet. She has severe social anxiety, and because of that, it's just, you kind of fall in love with like wanting her characters to succeed, but it's just this slow buildup of the crazy. Like, it starts off with something little bits about Rebecca, and then just gets bigger and bigger, and there's of course a wonderful twist, and the writing is beautiful. The end is amazing. I liked the end. I thought it was probably one of the best ending paragraphs I've ever read in a book. So if you're looking for a very good, just wonderful book, I would definitely recommend this. And like I said, I have a lot of friends who this is their favorite book of all time. I know some people won't like it. Some people really don't like that rich writing style, but I personally love it. I think that's the reason I do read a lot of classics, because if I've gone a while without reading a classic, I miss the writing style, and I will crave that just beautiful, rich language. And this book definitely has that. So I'm going to read more from this author. If you have read any others of this author and you recommend, like, where should I go from here? Like, what would be the next best one of hers to read? Please let me know. I'm excited to add another this author's books onto my to be read. I see, like, it says like Jamaica and in Frenchman's Creek, but I don't know, like, you know, obviously this is the most well-known, but I don't know like what's the second like considered best one of her things. So if you know, please let me know. I'm really excited. I have been like reading a tiny bit at night before I fall asleep, but not much, just because we're, like I said, going to bed so early that you're just kind of laying sideways and you read like 2 pages and realize you're like falling asleep, and then you put the book down. But even that, like, even being able to read only a tiny little bit, this book was just still so beautiful. So if you haven't read it, which you probably already have, but if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I read the actual book. I don't know how the audiobook is, but I just feel like, I don't know. I don't even know. I almost want to say, like, don't listen to the audiobook. Just read like the actual book. But you know, the audiobook may be fantastic. I don't know. I feel like it would need a really good narrator to do justice to like the feeling of the book. It's just, I've been reading a lot of books for Halloween time or this, you know, spooky October that have like this slow build up and to where you kind of gradually begin to question what's really happening, and it's lovely. So I just, yes, the knitting is great. It's been fun grabbing random skeins out of my stash and knitting. The reading is great. There just needs to be more time, or I need to suddenly have a lot more energy to where I am not going to bed at 8:30. If I could just like stay up till midnight, I'd have so many more hours and it would be amazing. But because it's already late enough and I've talked to you guys a lot about stuff, and this still all has to be put in processing, and so I'll be up doing that for the next couple of hours, but I can knit while I do that. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go and get on that. So until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful week and you get to do all the things you love. Okay, bye friends.